And good morning, everyone, or good afternoon now, isn't it? So it's great to see so many of you here. As Yaz said, I'm Dawn Hardman. I'm Director of HR at the Herefordshire and Worcestershire Chamber of Commerce, and we're actually lead partner for the Worcestershire Works Well programme. So we're really pleased to be able to talk to you about the programme in a little bit more detail today. So you'll be pleased to know I'm not going to be talking too much because we have some great speakers for you to talk about their own experiences of Worcestershire Works Well. So I'm just going to set the scene for you and just tell you a little bit about the background of Worcestershire Works Well and its structure. And then I'll be handing over to my colleagues who will go into put some of the detail around the programme. So hopefully we tried it before we started and it worked. So hopefully it's going to work now. I am going to share my screen. And hopefully you can see slides. Yes, Yaz is giving me a nod, so I'm assuming it's working. So welcome to Worcestershire Works Well, and as you can see, it's working together to improve workplace health and well-being in Worcestershire. So as I said, I just wanted to set the scene for you a little bit really, and just give you a little bit about the history of Worcestershire Works Well and our journey and where we are now. And actually, Worcestershire Works Well is in its 12th year. It was born way back in 2011. And what happened was a local company, DHL, who were based in Droitwich at the time, they actually contacted public health because they'd experienced quite a tragedy, well, a serious tragedy within their workplace. They actually lost one of their employees who died of a heart attack whilst at work. And DHL wanted to actually, as that person's legacy really, wanted to take a programme of workplace health and well-being forward, and contacted public health and said, what can you do to help us? We are really so committed to the health and well-being of our workforce. What can you do to help us? And public health went in and carried out a series of interventions, so blood pressure checks and a lot of raising awareness about the importance of healthy lifestyles and making those healthy lifestyle changes. And as a result, DHL did actually come back with some very tangible benefits that programme actually achieved. And public health actually then took that away and thought to themselves, well, actually there are so many employers in Worcestershire. A lot of people in Worcestershire work, a lot of people will have an employer. And it's a way of very key public health messages being promoted to a huge population in Worcestershire, that population who actually work. And that's why Worcestershire Works Well was born, in that public health actually engaged with some key partners within Worcestershire and said, right, let's think about how we can actually work with Worcestershire employers and actually really help the population in Worcestershire to make those healthy lifestyle choices and understand how important it is to look at things like healthy eating and taking more exercise, etc. So there was a great opportunity there. As I said, it was a partnership model. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the partners in a moment. But where we are today with Worcestershire Works Well, we do believe that that employers do have a key role in supporting good employee mental and physical health. And we want to work with those employers to help with those programmes. We obviously want to maintain a local focus among regional and national programmes, so working closely with public health, who obviously through the work they do really understand what the key health priorities are at any one time and the key areas that perhaps we do need to address. So we work very closely with public health national and local campaigns, because those are the areas that are going to be of most benefit and of most value to our working population. And we revised our toolkit. It is an accreditation scheme, as you know. We revised our toolkit, which is the framework that companies are accredited against. And we made sure that the toolkit really did address the key health priorities at the current time. And we fine-tune those processes to make them more easily accessible for businesses to work towards, and to give businesses a little bit more freedom into how they approach their accreditation, so that it wasn't necessarily just a prescriptive approach. It was an approach where businesses could really understand what their own health priorities were or are, and could actually work with Worcestershire Works Well and the accreditation scheme to address their own key priorities. So that's where we are at the moment. We have over 100 businesses signed up to the scheme, working at various levels of accreditation, which again I will come to in a moment and explain that process to you. What next? We want to continue to support workplaces to enhance health and wellbeing. We want businesses to realise and support health and wellbeing priorities through implementing health and wellbeing programmes and strategies, which is obviously where Worcestershire Works Well can help. And of course, very, very, very topical at the moment. You know, we're all entering a new world of work, you know, to some degree. You know, the end of the pandemic, we will be looking, I'm sure, well, I know, at lots and lots of different ways of working. And we have to look at the impact of those different ways of working, you know, during and after COVID. And again, Worcestershire Works Well is looking at that at the moment and aligning its programme with the new ways of working going forward. So yes, I did promise to just give you some background information about the pilot study, which was DHL all those years ago. And you can actually see on the middle slide the priorities they gave, health and wellbeing. And actually they've come up with one very tangible measurement as to how Worcestershire Works Well and the health interventions provided by public health actually made a difference to their overall sickness absence. And they've actually managed to quantify that in terms of value to the organisation, and you can see some quite enlightening figures there on the last slide. Now, of course, we do understand that absence management might not necessarily be a particular priority for every Worcestershire business. I'm sure some of you will probably be thinking, actually, we don't have a concern about our attendance levels. They're actually really, really good. But absence management is just one benefit that a business can actually enjoy as a result of working with the programme. And that's where our key speakers will come in this morning, because they will actually going to be sharing some of their real experiences of the programme and how it's really benefited their business. Just very quickly about the partnership. As I said, it is a partnership approach. The funder is public health. This is why the scheme is free for Worcestershire businesses. It's a public health funded initiative. Obviously, public health is part of Worcestershire County Council. Herefordshire and Worcestershire Chamber of Commerce became the lead partner in the delivery of the programme in October. We've been partners in the scheme since its inception, but in October we actually achieved the contract for the lead deliverer, and we're ably supported by our other partners. We have Active, Herefordshire and Worcestershire, we have Community First, and we have Worcester Regulatory Services. So each of those partners has expertise in all the areas of Worcestershire Works Well, and we work very, very closely together on the development of the programme and our links with businesses to ensure that all our signed-up businesses have access to a range of skills and a range of knowledge shared by those different partners. My next slide, this is actually just a snapshot of our Worcestershire Works Well website, which I will give you the address to at the end of my very short presentation. But this is probably what is most relevant to you this morning. This is where you will be able to find and download the standards that Worcestershire Works Well would accredit a business against. As you can see, there are 3 levels, level 1, 2 and 3, level 1 being the starting one. We do ask that all businesses start at level 1 because that provides the building blocks, the framework for health and wellbeing strategies and programmes. Many businesses come on board and really are already at level 1 because of the work they're doing already in health and wellbeing, and accreditation is actually more of a recognition for that rather than something that they need to work to. And then obviously level 2 and level 3 being our gold standard, and at the moment we just have 1 business accredited at level 3, although we have about half a dozen working towards it, so there's a race on as to who's going to be the next person at next business at level 3. But level 2 and level 3 are much more KPI based health and wellbeing strategies. We're looking for evaluations of the programme, return on investment, and it becomes much more strategic at those 2 levels, whereas level 1 is very much raising awareness and providing the framework for health and wellbeing initiatives. Getting signed up to the programme is very, very easy. You will see that's done through our website. At the bottom left-hand corner of the slide, you will see getting started and signing up. So it will give you all the information about what you need to do about getting started and submitting a sign-up form. We just ask for 2 things on sign-up, and that is that there is a named health and wellbeing champion within the organisation. So we have a point of contact to work with, and we asked for confirmation that that your senior management, your senior leadership team has given approval for the scheme also, because we know from experience that if the leadership team isn't on board, then it's very difficult for these sort of programs to actually take off and be developed. So very quickly, just looking at the toolkit, as I said, there are 3 standards. We have, 3 levels, and we have 8 standards. The standards are the same for each level. We're just asking for more investment in each of those standards as you progress through the levels. At levels 2 and 3, we do ask for additional standards to be met, and I've just put the list of additional standards which are available for businesses to select from. At level 2, it's just one of those standards, and at level 3, it's 2 of those standards. But the reason we've done it this way is that, again, we want businesses to be able to use the scheme to be able to focus on health topics that are very, very relevant to their business. And some businesses, may want to focus on musculoskeletal disorders, for example, and another business may want to focus on a completely different topic, such as, I don't know, financial well-being. So at levels 2 and 3, you've got a little bit more scope to tailor your accreditation journey to the health profile of your organisation. Finally, from me, before I hand over to Amy, I did allude to the research we've done around leadership and how this fits in with Worcestershire Works Well. As I said, we asked from the outset that there's a leadership, there's a commitment from the organisation's leadership team. And to develop this work even further, we've really enhanced and developed the leadership and management standard within all of the levels. And we're looking at an organisation which actually promotes a culture and environment which supports and promotes health and well-being. So we're looking for, evidence from the leadership team that they're fully engaged and supporting the programme, and creating an organisation where health and well-being isn't just an add-on, a nice thing to do. It's actually part of that organisation strategy, and obviously leading to actual business benefits as a result of that increased effort. So I just wanted to sort of raise that as an item which we've developed a lot through the new standards, and how important leadership is to the success of Worcestershire Works Well within your business. But I know that's going to be fully supported by our speakers, Josie and Debbie today, who will be able to talk to you from real experience about the programme. So that's actually all from me. I just wanted to set the scene for you before I hand over to the team of experts. And I'm very pleased to introduce Amy Woodcock next. Now, Amy, again, has been with the programme since its inception all those years ago, and has worked as a Worcestershire Works Well rep. She's actually going to talk to you about what the role of the Worcestershire Works Well rep is, what she is able to do for you, and some of the experiences that she's able to share with you from her involvement with the scheme over the years. So are you okay to take over, Amy?
Absolutely, thank you, Dawn.
Stop sharing my screen so that we can see you properly.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. As Dawn said, I'm Amy Woodcock, and yes, I've been part of the scheme for many years now. And so we thought it'd be really useful to just give you a bit of an overview of how it works in terms of the support that's available for any organisations that are part of the scheme. And I do want to emphasise that that support is flexible as well. So it doesn't matter what stage you're at in terms of health and well-being in your business. We're here to support you and get you from where you are to where you want to be, and meet the standards and achieve your accreditation. So as you can imagine, we've got a variety of businesses and organisations that are signed up to the scheme. And I thought it might be useful to just give some examples of some of the types of businesses who are signed up, just to show you the sort of breadth that there is really. So some of the businesses that I support are office-based businesses, construction firms, charities, garden centres, transport companies, manufacturing sites, farms where they're picking and packing and delivering out vegetables. Schools are another one. So a really wide range of businesses that are signed up and that have found the scheme really, really useful. Obviously, they all have different number of employees, offer different types of services, and work in different ways as well. So, for example, you know, we can work with you even if part of your business involves some travel outside of a main workplace. It's all very flexible. So once your business signs up, a rep then makes contact with you. And one of the first things that we do is we fill in an organisation profile form. And that's really useful because it not only helps us as reps to give us a bit of information about your company and start that understanding, but also for you, it's useful in helping you to focus on what you want to achieve and what you want your health and well-being priorities to be. So as I said, it doesn't matter what stage you're at all. You can be at the beginning and have not considered health and well-being initiatives before, or you can be very engaged with these initiatives already, and just need that bit of support to demonstrate what you're doing to achieve the accreditation. So we start with level 1. As Dawn said, we've got level 1, 2 and 3. Regardless of what you've done before for other schemes, you always start at level 1. And we have a chat about the timescales initially. So we've got various accreditation dates throughout the year. So we have a chat and decide what is a realistic date for us to aim for your accreditation, and then we work towards that. Support is available throughout the whole time from your rep, whether it's on the phone, by email, and obviously we have previously visited companies as well, not been able to for 12 months, but hopefully we will be able to resume that once it's safe to do so. And that's great because obviously it's much better to meet people face to face and get a feel for what you do there and the culture within your organisation. So as part of the process, we ask you to provide information to demonstrate how you are meeting the standards. So your rep is available for any advice and support on that. So it could be, for example, that you are not sure what information to provide to demonstrate something. And we could say, well, actually, something like a photograph for your notice board, or some training that you've delivered with your employees to do with health and well-being. Anything like that is really useful. It could be an email that you've sent out to all members of staff, but you know, some are obvious and some aren't as much obvious, so it's useful if we can just give you a few examples if you need them. Once you're ready, we then have a look at the information that you've put together. The information is now all uploaded online. We don't need sort of hard copies of anything. And we decide on a date for that review, and we look through the information and give you any feedback on whether we feel that there's anything else that you need to do to be ready for the accreditation. And we don't put you forward until we feel that you are ready. So we make sure that we're at that point prior to the accreditation date. As a rep, we do need to have a good understanding of your business from a health and well-being point of view, because it is the reps who present your information for the accreditation on your behalf to the panel. So it's really useful to not just review the information, but to be able to have a chat and a good understanding of what you do and why you do things, so that we can really promote what you do in the best possible light. When you've achieved level 1, if you'd like to, and when you're ready, we then move on to level 2 and level 3. So that was a very brief overview of the support that is available from the reps. And I thought it would be useful to just finish by giving a few examples of the sort of questions that we might be asked as part of that support. So some of the questions that I've been asked, for example, are: how can we demonstrate that we are providing support to employees who have recognised mental health problems? Who would be classed as a competent person in regards to health and safety? And how can we engage employees and encourage them to really get involved in the scheme and what we're doing? So that was a summary, but there's plenty more that we can offer and provide. And if you do decide to sign up, that's brilliant, and I look forward to meeting you and giving you that support. Please feel free to pop any questions into the chat box now, or get in touch with me on another date. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. You have actually been very busy over the years, haven't you? How many businesses have you supported?
Gosh,
quite a few. Lost count.
Yeah.
So thanks, Amy. That helps a lot. So yes, just to reiterate, on the sign up, you are actually allocated a dedicated Worcestershire Works Well rep. It might be Amy, it might be me, or it might be one of, we have about 10 from the various partners, and we would actually make sure that that person becomes your dedicated rep and will stay with you on your journey. Obviously, you'll be able to really understand your business and really provide valuable and meaningful support. So thank you, Amy. I'm now going to hand over to Josie Howells, and Josie is HR advisor at Kinetic, one of our bigger businesses, and Josie has been with the scheme for several years, and we thought it'd be lovely for her to join us today to actually talk about Kinetic's experience of being part of the scheme and the benefits that's achieved for them. So Josie, are you happy to take the mic, so to speak?
Yeah, of course. I'll just share my screen quickly. There you go. Hopefully you can all see that. So yeah, good afternoon everyone. Hope you're all well. I'm Josie Howells, HR advisor at Kinetic, and we've been part of the Worcestershire Works Well scheme since 2018. And since taking part in the scheme, we've noticed a real positive impact, not just at our Malvern site, but across Kinetic as a whole. And we work really closely with the Worcestershire Works Well team, and we have done over the last 3 years. So I really wanted to come along today and share with you our journey, and also talk about the impact that the accreditation has had for our business. So firstly, just a little bit about Kinetic. So we are a global engineering and defence company, and we employ 6,000 employees worldwide and have 39 sites across the UK. The Worcestershire Works Well accreditation is specific to our Malvern site. Malvern is our 3rd largest site across Kinetic, and we employ 819 employees there. Although across Kinetic, the majority of employees are engineers and scientists, specifically at Malvern, we've got a real array of roles, project managers, consultants and administrators as well. And also across the whole business, we employ a real array of roles and ages, so a real wide demographic that I think the variety of the Worcestershire Works Well scheme allows us to tap into those different demographics really, and make sure that there is something for everybody, because that's something we were really struggling with previously. So we are a level 2 accredited business. We received our level 1 accreditation in May 2018, and then a year later in May 2019 we secured level 2. The main reasons we took part in Worcestershire Works Well is we felt that the scheme really aligned to our philosophy and culture around wellbeing. And like I mentioned, it covered so many topics that we felt were relevant for us, and it would really help us to support a large number of our people. We also felt it would help us build upon what we were already doing. I think lots of businesses are in the same boat in terms of, you know, we were doing initiatives, but they were quite ad hoc, and we felt we needed a little bit more a plan and a structure in place. And we felt that Worcestershire Works Well would really give us that guidance. We knew we predominantly already focused on mental health. But we needed a greater insight into a real array of topics, again, just to reach as many people as possible. We felt that the toolkit, when we looked at it, really captured all things wellbeing. So, you know, it does focus on mental health, but as Dawn showed on the previous slide, you know, it covers physical health, healthy eating, encouraging healthy life choices, financial well-being, health and safety. So it really meant we could broaden what we were offering. We did also consider the business benefits, and strongly believed at the time that we would see improvements in absence, productivity, engagement, attraction, retention. The latter two particularly, because wellbeing has become at the forefront really over the last few years. So it is something we knew we needed to continue to do and really focus on to remain competitive in attracting and retaining people. So the impact that Worcestershire Works Well has had on our business is we hold quarterly engagement surveys across all of Kinetic. And the impact the accreditation has had specifically at Malvern is, since we started that survey in 2018, we've seen a 26% increase on engagement. And specifically in relation to the wellbeing questions that we ask as part of that survey, we've seen an average increase of 1.6 across all of Kinetic. So this accreditation has really had a ripple effect across all of Kinetic. Specifically in that survey, the wellbeing questions we ask are Kinetic cares about my mental well-being, and also at Kinetic I'm able to lead a healthy lifestyle, and our employees are asked to rate that between 1 and 10, and we've continually seen those scores increase over the last couple of years. Soon after launching that survey in 2018, which was just after we secured our level 1 accreditation at Malvern, we identified that Malvern was scoring particularly highly on those wellbeing questions already compared to the rest of the organisation. And we believe that's because of the wellbeing structure that we already had in place, because we had been working on Worcestershire Works Well for some time before that. And that was just continuing to grow and grow. So as a result of that, we've rolled out many aspects of the scheme, like I said, across the organisation, things that we've launched or piloted at Malvern because of the guidance we've had from our reps, or because we've been working towards this toolkit. So the scheme's really made an impact in that sense at Malvern and really across our whole organisation. I think it's really helped us to encourage more of an open culture around mental health and wellbeing. Personally, in my role, I've noticed people are much more willing to have discussions with their managers, with HR, with each other around wellbeing and mental health. And we've continued to see attendance at our wellbeing events just grow and grow as well over the last few years. And we've also had more employees offer to run and organise these events for us, which I'm always grateful for. So that's been a real positive, and I think they feel empowered to do so more now because of this culture shift that we've seen. The Worcestershire Works Well events are brilliant. Me and my colleague, we've built a real strong local network, and that's really helped us with the sharing of ideas. It's sometimes difficult to come up with a new initiative or a new idea that you can do. So I'm happy to admit we've definitely taken inspiration from others that we've met at those events and thought, okay, how can we do something similar or take those ideas, so they're really useful. We've also embraced some of the free initiatives, of course, who wouldn't? So including the Make Every Contact Count training and also the suicide prevention workshops that have been run by Public Health. We've been invited to those or made aware of them through our Worcestershire Works Well rep. So it's really useful to have that connection with them. And as a result of that, we've been able to share a lot of what we've learned at those events with our managers. And we've definitely seen their confidence boost over the last couple of years regarding wellbeing and having more open conversations with employees. As mentioned before, the scheme has given us so much structure to our wellbeing programme. We have scheduled annual events and a real array of activities. The word cloud just at the bottom of the screen just provides some examples of the activities that we've put on as a result of the guidance we've had from Worcestershire Works Well. And I think because we have this more detailed programme now, our managers and recruiters are much more confident and able to articulate our wellbeing offering to potential new starters. So I think it's definitely helped create and contribute towards that employee value proposition. We've also just launched our first ever wellbeing strategy across Kinetic, and our wellbeing lead actually took inspiration from the Worcestershire Works Well scheme and the 5 ways to wellbeing to create aspects of that strategy, just because of the succinct direction and guidance that it offers. So the scheme really has opened the door to wellbeing across Kinetic and not just at Malvern, although we're really proud to say that the Malvern is where it all started, and thanks to Worcestershire Works Well. So finally, I thought it would be useful to share some tips with you on our experience of working towards the accreditation and the different levels. I think it's already been alluded to really. We quickly realised how much we were already doing that was relevant for the accreditation, and how much you can already use and how much you can already build upon that. So that made it definitely less daunting when we looked through the toolkits, and we thought actually we are already doing a lot of this, and it really helped us just to get the ball rolling, I think, a lot quicker than we envisaged. And I think by building upon what you're already doing, you're not using it as a tick box exercise, and I think that helps it to feel a little bit more authentic. And I think by doing it gradually like that, building on what you're already doing, you get greater employee buy-in as well, definitely. So this leads on to using the toolkit as a guide. Talking to other businesses, we all interpreted the standards slightly differently, and that's okay. They aren't prescriptive. They are quite broad, which I think is a huge benefit, because it allows you to have that freedom and that flexibility to do what's right for your business, and make sure that what you are doing is right and realistic for your business and your people. And also, if you are struggling to meet an aspect of the criteria, then do speak to your Worcestershire Works Well rep. They've been really supportive and really helpful for us to look at things from a different angle and consider what is possible that we hadn't maybe considered before. As I mentioned, embrace the events. They really have been useful to us. And we actually found the transition between level 1 and level 2 took less time than we anticipated. We actually found getting to level 1 more challenging than level 2, actually. And I think, so don't be disheartened if that is the case. I think because you lay that such a strong foundation for level 1, lots of businesses sometimes find that transition and that step up a little bit easier. That was definitely the case for us. Whereas level 1, you feel like you are starting a little bit more from scratch, but we definitely found that level 1 was a real springboard to help us towards level 2. So that was really exciting when we looked over it and thought, actually, we can really build on our level 1 and then hopefully achieve level 2, which we did. The best tip when going through this process from me is to engage with employees from the start. Let them know what you're doing and get them on board. We didn't do that so much for level 1, but we did for level 2, and we really noticed the difference in having others support us. Again, it just brings fresh ideas and a fresh perspective to things. And I also think it links back to that culture piece around openness and empowering employees to talk about wellbeing. Although it has meant I've got more people knocking on my door asking when we're going to give level 3 a go. So yeah, thank you, and I hope that's been really useful. We found the accreditation really worthwhile for our business, but also for myself and my HR colleague at Malvern. It's really challenged us in a really positive way as well to look at things differently. And it's been really great to see the benefits firsthand at Malvern, which is where I'm based, but also, like I said, see that ripple effect across the business. And we'd be really happy to work with or mentor any businesses as they start the scheme or start looking at the scheme. We'd be more than happy to support with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Josie. That was great. I don't know how you managed to fit sort of 3 years work, or nearly 3 years work, into 20 minutes, but well done. And I hope that's I hope that set the scene for a lot of you in terms of how it's worked for a business who were already sort of engaged with health and well-being, but felt they needed that sort of framework, that sort of additional support in helping formulating a strategy. So that was really useful. Does anyone have any immediate questions for Josie before I move on? No, don't think so. We might have some time at the end anyway for general questions. So I think you're off the hook, Josie, for now. we worried all our speakers beforehand and said, be prepared to answer any questions. We all went into panic mode, so you're off the hook. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Debbie Farr. Now, Debbie is HR and Facilities Director at ISO Quality Services, a much smaller organisation than Kinetic, but we thought it'd be really useful to have both perspectives. So without further ado, I am going to hand over to Debbie, if you're ready, Debbie.
Yes,
for you to take the floor.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dawn. And thanks, Josie. I have to follow that act now. For those of you who don't know us, we are a family-run SME business based in Worcester, and as I said, as Dawn has said, I'm the HR and Facilities Director. So we specialise in helping SMEs in the UK develop their business through implementation of ISO management standards. So we have a team of 15 dedicated staff in our office in Worcester, and are very much a sort of extended family. We have very strong people-orientated values, and our employees have always been our biggest asset. So taking a sort of wait and see approach, I suppose, to their well-being didn't make good business sense for us. So a bit like Josie kind of said, we were already doing a fair bit towards the health and well-being of our staff anyway. We engaged the services of a mental health nurse. We were offering workplace massages. We were doing ad hoc kind of events and ad hoc initiatives. But then when we were made aware of the Worcestershire Works Well, we felt that we actually wanted to have a bit more of a formal structure to what we were doing. Although we're, you know, a fairly small sort of team, we're an office-based team, we felt that actually we were doing some really good stuff that would be really good for it to be recognised and formulated and kind of given an accreditation for what we were doing. We offered things like flexible working hours, we were doing extra benefits like your birthday day off, we had a health cash plan, so we were doing all of this sort of great stuff and really wanted to be recognised for it and embed it even more into our culture as an organisation. It was also, we thought, a great way of meeting like-minded organisations who, again, like Josie said, we could get ideas from, see what other people were doing, what other best practice was out there as far as health and well-being of their staff. We then would know it would keep us up to date with latest initiatives, give ourselves a standard to work towards, a bit like we were giving our clients to do, and also help us to proactively look after the long-term health and well-being of the team that we have. So I suppose that what I wanted to go through was really kind of our experience of the process itself. Now, Amy was actually our practitioner, so that was really nice that she's on here today. And yeah, I think like Josie said, you get given the level 1 standards and you look at them and you think, oh my goodness. But actually, when we started going through them with Amy, we realised there was a lot of parts of our working life that naturally we were doing that all we had to do was pull the evidence together for. She was always on hand if there was any questions or queries that we had. And the way we approached it is we decided to have a small team of 3 of us become the Worcestershire Works Well champions. So myself as kind of the leadership level, and then 2 members of the team itself. That really helped in embedding it within the rest of the team, because there was 3 of us that were kind of involved in it. So 3 of us were actively promoting this throughout the whole time that we were going through the accreditation. We split the categories between us, and actually that helps. We split it out, so split the workload out a little bit. We'd come together with some ideas if we were struggling on any of the standards and the categories, pull together evidence. And as Amy said, we use things like photos, emails, initiatives that we were doing, any posters we'd sent out, any updates I'd sent out. And actually, when you started pulling together that evidence of things that you were already doing and possibly unknowingly doing that were actually really a positive to your staff's health and well-being, it was a brilliant confidence boost, and actually kind of gave you the confidence to think, yeah, we can do this, and actually we can stretch ourselves a bit further and do a little bit more. We were really, really pleased in 2019 to achieve our level 1 in the May, and because of all the work we had done, we actually stretched ourselves and pushed ourselves to gain level 2 the following June 2019 as well. So we actually achieved level 1 and level 2 in a very short period of time. But that was due to the fact of having split the workload out between us, really getting the team sort of on board as a whole of what we were doing, gaining all those evidence anytime we were doing an initiative, things like the On the Feet, the Healthy Eating Weeks, all of those kind of great things. And yeah, we were really pleased to achieve both those levels quite on a short period of time. So since achieving both of those, we obviously haven't just gone, oh, great, that's, that's a nice certificate over there. We continue to utilise the Worcestershire Works Well newsletters. They're invaluable for information that comes through on upcoming initiatives, resources that you might not be aware of in the local area. We push these out to our staff consistently, weekly, if not bi-weekly, if not monthly, depending on what the initiatives are. It feeds into our own internal quarterly HR newsletter. So we utilise some of the information that comes through to push out any relevant kind of ideas and initiatives. Things like a small quiz that was through recently for Every Mind Matters for people to take on in their own time, through to larger initiatives like National Walking Week is coming up next month. Those kind of great sort of resources that come through from the team at Worcestershire Works Well, they're absolutely invaluable. The next thing we do, or we have done, is we took the health and wellbeing survey that Public Health England recommend doing, and we split that down into every 2 weeks asking those questions on a very regular basis. So we're keeping on top of how our staff are feeling consistently. And I think really that brings me to how this has really helped us through the pandemic that we've just been through. It's been invaluable in assisting our staff to learn to work from home, to cope with the lockdowns, because this was all really embedded in us as a team before this happened, meant that we were able to continue with the same level of information, of signposting and support that they were already used to. Our mental health nurse was turned to virtual appointments, and we made those mandatory at the beginning, and then voluntary following that. We planned in social sessions, sent out wellbeing tips. We've got a lot of working mums, so a lot of the COVID and wellbeing advice that was coming through from the team about working mums and children, we would push all that out as well. And I think if we hadn't been actually part of the scheme, we possibly wouldn't have had a place to go for all that extra support during this time. We've since used the standards and the information that comes through and created our own Worcestershire Works Well internal handbook. So the staff now have access to a complete handbook that has all the relevant local contact names, details, numbers for any agencies or any external places that they might need to go to. It has advice, the five ways to wellbeing advice. It has tips on mindfulness. It's jam-packed full of real wellbeing stuff, and we consistently review that alongside anything else that we are gaining along the way. And that's been proved to be a really invaluable resource for our small team. Some of the things that we did through the pandemic to help with wellbeing, we did a walking challenge where we had 2 teams. Our staff can get quite competitive, I've discovered, and because we had to all socially distance, everyone could walk when they walked, log their steps, and then whoever had walked the furthest team at the end of I think it was 6 weeks we did it for, would win. And we figured out that one team would have walked to Reykjavik in Iceland if they'd actually walked that entire way. We share food ideas, relaxation ideas. I consistently do HR one-to-ones every 6 weeks, which is a half-hour chat with all of our staff, either as it's been on the telephone recently, but hopefully now coming more into face-to-face. So yeah, it's been a real journey for us. So although we achieved our 2 levels really quickly, we've actually probably done so much more work since in utilising all of that knowledge that we've gained through going through the process, in order to really support the health and wellbeing of our staff. Our sickness levels are near enough 0, which is amazing. They know that we have such an open door policy. Our management team are completely on board with it. People, like Josie said, people become very open then to talking to you, and actually coming to you and knowing that they can come to you when they've got an issue or a problem or they need to discuss something. I think that's been really, really, really important, especially during the pandemic time that we've just been through. So I'm actually really pleased that we had all this embedded in 2019, not knowing that this was actually going to actually give us a real good backbone of support to our staff through the last year and a half. Also in 2019, we were also honoured by Worcestershire Works Well to receive the Southco Outstanding Achievement Award, and that was due to our work on mental health. We have mental health first aiders, we have our mental health nurse. We take it very seriously within our small organisation, and our future plans now are to push this out further. We have an extended team of associates who deliver our actual service to our clients, and they are based all over the country, and we're starting to pushing out wellbeing advice to them, sending out resource which would be suitable, just to make sure that even though they are sort of subcontractors of ours, I suppose is what the best way to describe them, we're still giving them the same advice and support that we would give our internal team. We're using Worcestershire Works Well to underpin our formal wellbeing strategy going forward, and I do think that having this in place and having all of these initiatives and fun things that we do, plus the serious side of people's well-being, has also attributed to our good place to work score staying at 90% and more, scoring us 8 and above consistently for the last 3 years, to be honest. So yeah, it's been a really good journey, and I would highly recommend that if you're on the fence or you're not sure, it's definitely worth investigating. It helps you take actions against, preventing any mental health and wellbeing issues. It supports your staff to make healthier choices. People get more engaged. It's a very kind of not simple process as far as getting your evidence, but Amy made it incredibly easy to go to her for any questions, advice, and made it that we could actually go through it in a really sort of stress-less way. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an overview of how it works from an SME, smaller company point of view. But obviously I would be absolutely more than happy to answer any questions, or if people want to speak to me after this, or want to email with any questions and advice, more than happy to share further information. Thank you. I think Dawn's on mute.
Thank you, Debbie. Sorry, I knew it would happen. Someone had to do it, didn't they? And it was me. So thank you so much, Debbie. That was really interesting. And even though I've worked with you sort of on the sort of outside, I certainly hadn't realised how much you'd actually done, and I knew you'd done a lot. So that was really useful for me to hear as well. We do have a question in the chat. How many employees do you have?
We currently have 15 employees at the office. Add our other 2 directors on, that 17 sort of total office based, and then we have another 22 business associates out in the field across the UK.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Debbie before we start wrapping up this session? No. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I'll thank you to all the speakers from Yvonne. She's put, not easy speaking like this, but very helpful. So thank you, Yvonne, for that feedback as well. And I see you've put a previous message in as well, which we'll get that back to you about. I'm sorry you've had experiences in difficulty in registering, but we'll sort that out for you. So we'll take that on board. So yes, I mean, it looks like you might be off the hook, Debbie, so I've panicked you unnecessarily, so I'm sorry about that. So really I'd just like to take the opportunity to summarise. I mean, our speakers have said an awful lot, which I'm very grateful for. Debbie obviously mentioned the newsletter. This is a new initiative. We send this out monthly. We pull together all sorts of information from all our partners, from public health, from businesses. If businesses have stories they'd like to share, we'd like to include business news from our signed up businesses in that newsletter. It's a newsletter that just goes out to signed up businesses. It is very much an offer that we make as part of the programme. As are the events. Now, obviously, this event was open to everyone because we wanted to share Worcestershire Works Well with businesses who may not have heard about us, or as Debbie said, maybe thinking about joining but weren't quite sure what was really involved. But our Worcestershire Works Well events are always invite only to signed up businesses. So we know that we are actually bringing businesses together who are already committed to workplace health and well-being and are passionate about what they're doing, and want to share what they're doing with other businesses. And it's absolutely true. Just following on from something Josie said, when we've been face to face, the buzz in the room with people coming up with ideas and offers of help, and people saying, "Oh yes, we didn't think of that, but maybe that's something we could do. Can you help us?" That there's a real buzz in the room, and that's part of the offering of Worcestershire Works Well to the signed up business. We have our own branding, which you've probably seen on the slides. Our branding has been trademarked, and it can only be used by Worcestershire Works Well signed up businesses. But if you are thinking about implementing health and wellbeing as a formal workplace strategy, our branding may be able to help you with that, with your internal promotion of the scheme, and actually offer it as a campaign or a programme. So you are allowed to use the trademark internally until accredited, and once you're accredited, you are allowed to use it externally, so you can put it on your website, your letterheading, any press releases, and really sort of go out there and show that you're an accredited Worcestershire Works Well business. Mentoring, again, Josie and Debbie have said that they're both very willing and able to offer help to businesses. A mentoring service is something that Worcestershire Works Well team is looking at. We're looking at talking to businesses who have been with the programme for a while, who can also work with newly signed up businesses and share those experiences. And that's something we're hoping we're going to formalise in the not too distant future and start brokering those relationships a little bit. And I suppose finally from me, it is an accreditation scheme, which obviously we've talked about quite a lot this morning, but it isn't just about accreditation. The objective of the scheme is to support health and wellbeing in Worcestershire. It's to get people to be a lot healthier for all the benefits that gives to every individual. We know that interventions earlier on can actually prevent the onset of certain conditions and illnesses later in life. And I think none of you would be here if you didn't feel that there was value to workplace health and well-being. But the overriding objective is that we want people to lead, we want to encourage people to lead healthier lifestyles, which can have immense value and make a real difference to those people's lives in later years. And accreditation and the framework helps an organisation with that, but I think it's important to remember the value that it gives to every individual who works for you, and what a difference that might make. And we have had stories where a business has brought someone in to say carry out blood pressure checks, and as a result of that, employees have come back and said, I hadn't realised I was suffering with such high blood pressure, and that check has made me go and have that checked out, and it's led to other things that they were able to identify and take action. And it's difficult to quantify, but absolutely that intervention must have made a difference to that person's quality of life that further down the road. So it is an accreditation scheme. We'd love you all to get accredited, obviously, and we'll work hard with you to help with your accreditation, but it is all about health and well-being, and what a difference that can make to individuals' lives. I will say as well that obviously once you're accredited, and notice I said once you're accredited, not if, obviously we'll publicise that for you. We will promote you as a business that is very committed to workplace health and well-being, and hopefully that in turn will help encourage other businesses to sign up and take this programme forward. But yeah, any final questions before we finish slightly early? Okay, once you sign up to Worcestershire Works Well Pastel, which you do through the Worcestershire Works Well website, you'll automatically put on the distribution list. That's something that we make happen straight away. So yeah, all you have to do is sign up, and you get the newsletters and all sorts of other information from Public Health about national and local campaigns many of which include resource packs that you can use within your own organisations. So, any other questions? I will just type in the chat for you the Worcestershire Works Well website address, because there is so much more information on there. I would encourage you to have a look at that following this session, which will actually give you lots more information about what's involved on the sign up. Obviously, you can download the standards and have a look at them yourselves. On sign up, you'll automatically be allocated a rep, and the rep will actually give you a lot of support in interpreting those standards and looking at what you're doing and mapping perhaps what you're doing in relation to those standards to see where you are and where the gaps might be. But that's something that obviously happens at the point of sign up. Thank you, John, for your